Welcome to the Seven Figure Builder Show. My name is Juli Baranik, founder of Seven Figure Builder, where we help high achieving CEOs connect with their dream clients to scale to seven figures and beyond. And I'm here today with my friend Natalia Zacharin. Hey, Natalia.
Hey, Julie.
I am excited to chat with you today. This will be a lot of fun.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, where in the world are you?
I am located physically in Maryland.
Really? So am I. We're neighbors.
That's so funny. Maybe we'll go have coffee.
I think we should. We'll have to connect on that offline.
Yes.
Awesome. And for those that haven't had the pleasure to meet you yet, can you tell us a bit about your business?
Sure. The business name is Akron Consulting. We are an accounting firm. So we do everything that most accounting firms do: bookkeeping, accounting, payroll, AR, AP. But in addition to that, we do a lot of advisory services, and that's how we're different. We're more of an upscale. We're not a bookkeeping firm. We're a more upscale. So we have a couple of CPAs on staff. We can do technical GAAP type accounting, and we offer CFO services. So we do a lot of advice for entrepreneurs on how to increase profit, increase cash in the bank, because those two things are different, and how to save on taxes, and just how to build a business and scale and build a business that you can sell. So that's what we're on.
Awesome. We can dig into lots of things there. But we'll start with where we are towards the end of the year as when we're recording this. Are there tips and things that business owners need to remember at this time of year as we're rolling into tax season and all that fun stuff?
Yes. So first of all, you should make sure that your accounting, so everything starts with accuracy and being up to date. So that's just like the compliance organization type of thing that every business owner should do. So making sure that everything's up to date, organized, and accurate. If you haven't been, finding someone to go ahead and help you with that, hiring someone to help you do a cleanup if that's something that's necessary. So getting those things done before you are scrambling in March, right before the deadlines, is probably a really good idea. But it's a good idea to keep that up to date regularly so that you can evaluate your profitability regularly. The other thing is we have a lot of deadlines coming up. We've got payroll deadlines. If you have employees, W-2, W-3 deadlines. We have 1099 deadlines coming up in January. Those are both in January. We've got your last estimated estimated income taxes due soon. So there are a lot of things coming up. If you have contractors and you haven't collected W-9s, I would also recommend do that now. Don't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're looking at your books and how to maximize your profitability, like you mentioned, profit and cash in the bank are two different things. But what do you recommend for people with that?
Yes. Just to add from the question before, this is also a really good time to see what worked this year and to start planning for next year. So December is perfect to start planning, like, what are your goals for next year? So that can go into the question of profitability and cash in the bank. So those two things are different. And we get this question all the time of, wow, my net profit is 150,000. Why do I only have 30,000 in the bank? Where did the money go? So that's because that's a cash flow issue. So there's a difference. If you have a business that's profitable, that's amazing, but keeping that cash in the bank is very important. And so I always recommend keeping 3 to 6 months, a minimum of 3 months worth of expenses in your account at any time for reinvesting back into your business, being able to make payroll, being able to make those tax payments, anything that you need. And the difference of why your bank account might be showing a different amount than your profit and loss statement is because there are balances on your balance sheet that you're either paying off debt in the form of loans or credit cards, so that will reduce your cash, or you're taking owner draws, and that's a big one. There's nothing wrong with taking an owner draw, and we all work super, super hard, but structuring that and understanding how much you're taking out and not just doing it, any time and in any manner that you want to, makes it really important to have to just know what's happening and to keep an eye on that so that you can make better decisions and it doesn't just disappear. So I do find that once people get to 6 figures and 7 figures, and some of us came from meager backgrounds, and having a business has been fantastic because we can finally make more money than we've made with someone else. So, some of us not, it's the opposite. And we can talk about that too. But I find the folks that came from different backgrounds and suddenly they're making good money from their business, they tend to spend it, which is fantastic. But you really need to plan for your future, plan for the business, and be really careful with that money so that you have a plan. And then there's also one other thing that I find, that there's a time when your business is making money and your business is doing well. So you owe taxes, but you personally can't afford to pay yourself very well in payroll and or owner draws or a combination. So there's a time where your business is wealthier than you are. And I would just say, just keep powering through, like just understanding and evaluating your profitability and powering through that time period, because that's a rough period that we all go through.
Yeah. And what would you recommend to, we'll say, to maximize your earning potential? Because there's what you take out as the owner versus the business, which you touched on. But what are some, suggestions for maximizing your earning potential?
Everything in your financials, to me, your financials is like a plumbing structure in a building. So you can see where things are kind of moving slowly, where things are getting stuck. So being able to analyze that and to look at the numbers, you can see exactly what's wrong. But you should, and it could be a tweaking of several different things. That's why analyzing your business is not easy, and people do hire people to do that, because it's just not necessarily something that makes sense, because there are many, many different levers that you can pull or push, and they'll have different effects. It starts with the top line. So basically your revenue coming in, are you charging enough? Do you have the correct services and or products? And do you have the correct client avatar that you are marketing to, or that is your client? And what does that look like? So you kind of start there. Then if you have a cost of goods sold, so if you have a product, you'll have a cost of goods sold. Is the difference between your revenue and your cost of goods sold giving you enough money for all of your operational costs down the line? So you just kind of start breaking it into pieces, because the profit and loss statement has 3 sections. You break that into pieces and kind of see where the hiccups are, where the bottlenecks are. And it could be several little tweaks. And a lot of times I find that you can either do one really big tweak, like just double your pricing. So sometimes that's the case, or sometimes it's lots of little tweaks that add up to big things, of like reducing some costs here, increasing your revenue here, getting maybe a different type of client here. So like little things like that. So it's not a simple explanation, but and every business is very different, and every couple of months it's different. The issue could change.
100%. No, and it's fluid, as we know business always is. You also, in your role, work as a CFO with companies, right? That's part of the services that you provide. And
yes,
talk a bit about what does that look like? What does a CFO actually do, and how can that play into a business?
Sure. So accounting is very much like just stepping on a scale and seeing, like, did you gain weight? Did you lose weight? And it just gives you information. Being with a CFO is more like working with a personal trainer. So personal trainer will actually tell you, do you, like what your macros are? Do you need to, tweak your nutrition? Do you need to tweak your, something else? What kind of exercise you need to do? So that's more like a CFO. So we take the information out of your accounting financials. Most people use QuickBooks, so we go beyond what's available in QuickBooks. QuickBooks is really powerful and a fantastic software for accounting, but it's not quite enough. So we take all of that information out, we put it into an additional software so we can create graphs and charts, and then we also create a forecast. So when you're looking at your financials, that's a picture of what just happened or all of your past activity. When you're doing CFO services, it's taking everything that happened up until now, looking at the trends, and then mapping out where you are headed so that you can see in 3, 6, 9, 12, or 24 months down the line, how the different decisions that you make, how they're going to impact your business and at what stage, so that it gives you, it's almost like a crystal ball into the future. So you look at the forecast, you look at the actuals, and then the variance, and then you talk about the variance. And it could be anything. It could even be, hey, your revenue can't support this amount of people, or or your employees are not even being as efficient as they should be. So we can even look at utilization rates. So we can tell in the numbers if you have too many employees, not enough employees, or if they're not even being efficient. It's all there in the numbers. Same thing with your return on investment for your marketing or anything else that you're using. So it's a really cool way of having a glimpse into the future, so you have time to micro correct before you get there, and then you're scrambling to pivot.
Absolutely. And what would you say would be the good size of a business, or the point in time where people should really be focusing on this or bringing you in, obviously?
Yes. So I think that we do work with smaller companies. Probably our best client is over 500,000 in gross revenue. Once you get to $1 million, it's an even better client because there are so many more things you can talk about. Before that level, though, I would say it still works, except that if you haven't gotten to the $500,000 to $1 million mark, you have to fix your marketing and your sales. And so I can explain that to people, and I could give them tips and tricks, because I do all of my own marketing and sales right now. Actually, I just hired out for marketing, but I've done that for so many years. So I kind of figured it out for my own business, but I'm not a sales trainer. So I can tell someone, well, you need to fix your sales problems. You don't have enough leads, because you can tell exactly what's wrong. I can't tell them how to get those leads. So if they haven't been able to figure that out for themselves, they get stuck. And there might not be any changes, because we meet every single month, and there's a lot of accountability. So they may not be able to make the changes necessary. Once they get to $500,000, they kind of figured that piece out. So they know that if I say, your problem is you're not generating enough leads, because, out of 100 leads that you generate, you're going to get about 10 on a phone call, and you're going to probably close 2, because those are all just numbers, and we can actually evaluate and build some predictability in revenue that way. And if they're not at that point, it gets a little bit harder to be able to work with someone, but it's not impossible. We even work with startups. So, but that's kind of the caveat, is you have to put in the work, just like you would in any kind of coaching or mastermind or anything else.
Absolutely. And the more you can learn off of the past and be able to plan for the future, the more successful you're going to be across the board, right?
Absolutely. And with finance, it's a very trend driven. So you can be trending in a fantastic direction, or you can be in a really good place today and trending in a bad direction, not even know it, and then suddenly everything falls off the rails. Or you can be in a really bad place today, and if you're doing all the right things, trending in the right direction. So it allows you to see the trends, because the financial world doesn't stop. It's all about the trend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier about selling your business. And what are some thoughts that people need to be thinking about, or gaps that you see that people don't think about, if it's even on their radar? I mean, I would say most people, I think, are so entrenched in their business, they may not even be there yet. But what do you see in that aspect?
And that's the thing, right? That we're so entrenched, we don't even see it. The majority of businesses never consider the possibility of selling. So when they're done, they're just done. They just close the doors, which is crazy, because I'd say there's a really high percentage of businesses that could be sellable. When we talk about building wealth a lot, and I don't know if a lot of accountants do this, but that is really the whole purpose of being an entrepreneur. It's to have the freedom and to build wealth and to build a future so that you can retire. There are 3 buckets that you want to look at when you're building wealth and trying to retire. You need to look at the pre-tax bucket, which is typically like your 401ks, the post-tax bucket, which is going to be your Roth. And if you do any, UILs, universal index life insurance or whole life insurance plans, and then you look at your asset bucket. And your asset bucket is going to be any real estate or any other assets you own. Well, your biggest asset is your business. So that's what you want to build as your asset. And your business asset can be the largest growing investment and grow in value much faster than any other asset you can, or any other asset and any other type of investment you can possibly do. So you can literally double and triple year over year, and really build a fantastic asset that you can sell. So the nice thing is that when you're building a business and you're considering what does it look like to sell my business, there are a couple of things you have to look at, and actually forces you to create a much healthier business in doing that. So for instance, You have to not always just be working in the business. You have to learn how to work on the business, put in systems, processes, be able to scale, put in the right people eventually, know what that looks like, and start moving out of being the business owner to more of a CEO role, and then eventually to a shareholder role. So you start letting go of the day-to-day and start moving out into like the 30,000 foot view eventually. So that makes the business a lot more sellable, because you can't sell a business or it's not as sellable if you're the one running it, unless you can sell your like client base or something like that. So it's different for everybody. So that's the main thing, is to become the CEO of your business. Now, it takes years. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight, and that's fine. The other thing is predictability of revenue. So if you have a business that you can do some kind of subscription basis for your revenue, that is very helpful. That's very sellable. Or some kind of repeating or recurring business, or something that you're doing that is very different in your industry. So you can document those processes, and you can sell, you can sell that to market. Something with products. A product would be something that's really different, or something that has a solution for something. I would say those are the two main things, like getting out of the day-to-day and then making sure that the revenue is somehow either subscription basis or has some kind of recurring revenue, or some way where people want to keep buying your services over and over again. Because if you could imagine, if someone wants to buy your business, they don't want to buy you want to get out anyway. They need to be able to run it without you. And then they also don't want to buy a business where sales and just fall off and go flat. They want to see that you can predictably keep growing. And then when they buy your business, they can keep that growth also.
Yeah. And I would think that's something you have to be very intentional about early on, way before you get to the point of selling, to build all those systems, to have the plan in place, to make sure your face isn't the only selling point of that business, right?
Yes, exactly. And you'll be surprised. There's some people are like, I can't build a subscription basis, or they want to like just sell like some kind of subscription boxes or something like that. Almost anything can become some kind of subscription or recurring revenue in a lot of cases. So typically accounting is not very subscription based. In the past, it's always been based on hourly rates, and just like sending an invoice after you were done with the work. We actually don't work that way. We went outside of the industry, and we were kind of on the forefront of the new type of pricing, where it's a flat rate, it's monthly. You sign an agreement, and it's recurring. So we set that up, and it wasn't. It was pretty dramatic in the accounting industry. Accounting is very conservative. It's pretty dramatic. No one was really used to it, and it's okay. So just think outside of the box in your industry. It may not be something that they typically do, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. I always think about like the software model, how we used to buy Windows, or we used to buy Office, or,
Yes.
all those things you would buy at once. And that was just the way it was until it wasn't.
Yes.
They shifted it, and it's like, well, I guess if I want to upgrade,
That's
I
right.
need to go with that model. Yeah.
That's right.
Awesome. So how would you encourage business owners to work smarter, not harder? That's something that we talk about a lot on the show, but what are your suggestions for that?
I would say do what's most impactful. So whatever moves that needle. If you know that it's revenue you have to build, then I have actually a client that was very kindly and nicely signing every single, handwriting a note on every single invoice before sending them out. And I was like, but you don't even have time right now. You're telling me you don't have enough time to do billable hours. This is an architect. So your time is limited by how much you need to bill. So why are you doing that? And she's like, oh, my clients expect it. They love it. I'm like, has anybody said so? So the point of it is that we're all doing things that we don't need to be doing. So you need to have time to have that bandwidth, that mental bandwidth, and that space and time to be able to do what's most impactful. And that could be like hiring the right resources, using the right technology, streamlining, automating, not doing certain things, and then doing what things that actually move the needle. Another good example is going to events, networking events, or other things to grow your business and to market yourself and find leads. Be really intentional and see what's working, what's not working, tweak a few things, and then decide what's not a good fit for you or your business, and don't keep doing them. Don't keep doing what doesn't work, or tweak it so that like look at it non-emotionally and tweak things, and focus on building revenue. Sales solves everything. It really does. You can have a complete disaster and a mess of a business, but if you know how to sell and it's priced well, it doesn't matter. So when sales are not good and revenue is not good, that's when you can see all the different problems. And we see patterns of this in a lot of our clients, of the ones that just are really good at selling and really focusing on that in their business, on growing, have a much healthier business model than the ones that are in the nitty gritty of everything. Not everything needs to be done. Not everything needs to be perfect. And those little things may not be like, when you think and they make you feel good, does it have the intention that it needs to? You might not need to do it. For instance, we were doing video recordings and analysis for every single client on Loom every month when we would send out the financials. And I was like, this is taking a long time. It's 10 minutes for every client. Well, we have hundreds of clients. So that was a big time constraint. So you can tell on Loom who actually watches the videos. We found that only one client was watching them. So we stopped. We didn't even tell anybody. We just stopped doing it. It saved up so much time. I'd rather bring value that people do value than just spend time. And then the last thing is, in your personal life, what can you get rid of? You might even enjoy it, but you're building a business. There is sacrifice. So there are things that you can't do it all, or at least not at the same time. Like there are seasons for what you can and cannot do. So, for instance, I had to hire someone to clean my house. I know how to scrub my own toilet, but in the time that I would clean my house, it would take me 2 to 4 hours. I could close a client, or build a business, or hire a great team member, or train someone, or build a relationship with a client. So the value of your time shifts and it changes. Do you have to go food shopping? No, you can use Instacart. Do you have to cook out every meal? You can use DoorDash, or you can get a meal service delivered. So you can hire someone to mow the lawn. You can hire someone to clean the house. I hate to put it that way, but if you're building your business, your time is the most valuable thing you have, and you have to make that space for yourself. You may have to give up some hobbies. You may have to give up going out with friends or watching Netflix, or at least really reduce what you do.
Yeah. And as you said, your time is your most valuable asset, no matter what it is that you're doing. And
exactly.
You've got to have that balance, so that you have that fulfillment in life.
Yes.
And you've accomplished a ton in your career, and personally, professionally, but how do you define success? What does that look like to you?
So it's a hard definition, because there's, personal success, there's financial success, there's business success. The funny thing is that when you get to certain levels and you make certain milestones, if you're an entrepreneur and you're constantly going, you always have a new goal. So it's hard to feel successful, because every time you make a goal, you're on in the next one. So I would say, remember to look back and be grateful and see where you came from. And I think success is having the freedom. That's how I would, for me, that's the definition of success. Having the freedom to have enough money to be able to take care of my family, to take care of my own health. That was a big thing, because before I started the business, I was not making enough money I'm a single mom, so I wasn't making enough money to sustain my family. And my health with doctor visits and mammograms and everything else just went by the wayside. I had no time and no money. Unfortunately, when you have no money, you feel like you have no time too. And as a single mom, you feel like you have nothing. So this has allowed me to reinvest into my own personal health, and the health of my household and my family. So having the freedom to do so, being an entrepreneur, I work harder and more hours than I ever have before, but I also have the freedom to choose to take time off if I want to, go have lunch with my daughter, when I want to go travel. We're 100% remote, so we can work from anywhere. So a lot of times I'll take a trip. It usually starts off with some kind of conference that we're going to, and then we'll extend it for a week. And I'll still work every day, but I'm not working from Maryland. I'll be working from like Playa del Carmen, for instance, so it's a little nicer. So just the freedom, the financial freedom, the freedom of being able to build my own schedule. And then the reward of seeing that we're really helping people. People get very triggered and scared with taxes and money. And I feel like our CFO sessions are part analysis, part therapy. So that's been helpful to see the people grow and having that reward of seeing how you can help people. And then the reward of now we have employees with families, and we offer them benefits and PTO, and they work remotely, being able to take care of an entire community of families. And then we also contribute every month to various charities. So like having just, for me, like all of that is success, because I can have freedom and a little bit more time, even though I don't actually feel like I have time, but I do. So it's just, I think all of that is success for me.
Yeah. Well, and all the lives that you're transforming, not just your clients, but your employees and your family and the community and the charities. Like those are so many lives that you're touching on a daily basis, which is really awesome.
Yes, definitely. It's been the hardest journey I've ever had. I think that birthing this company and getting it to grow, and especially scaling and growing as quickly as we have, in some ways is more difficult than parenthood to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like your other baby.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, if you had the attention of the whole world for 5 minutes, what would you tell them?
I would say go for it. Whatever it is, and don't give up. The biggest difference. So I honestly believe part of the reason why we've seen success is because I didn't feel like I had an alternative. I was not making good enough money in the corporate world. I didn't feel like I was very employable. I'm a middle-aged single mom. And when I was getting close to 50 and turning 50, I was not seen as an employable person because health insurance starts getting really expensive. Employers don't want to employ anymore. And not having the flexibility to be remote and working from home when my child needs me, that was all very complicated. So I didn't have a lot of options. When I started this business, I felt like I had no other option. I was literally my financial security was really bad. I knew I was going to lose that job, and I kept applying to other jobs and couldn't find anything. So I started this business without any idea that I was ever going to start a business. It wasn't like my lifelong dream or my passion. It came out of a complete need. And I knew nothing about starting a business. I knew nothing about running an accounting business. I don't have an accounting background. I was an invoicing clerk at the last job, so I had a very small introduction to QuickBooks when I worked there. And someone mentioned to me, actually my boyfriend mentioned to me, why don't you just start your own business? Because he has a tax firm. And I was like, doing what? And he's like, accounting. And I'm like bookkeeping? He's like, sure. And I started it at first to just get some extra income. And then I soon found out that getting that extra income and trying to run, even a business on the side, a side hustle, was too much work with a full-time job and a commute and being a single mom. So I had to make a choice. And part of the reason, I just burned the bridges. I quit right before my 50th birthday. I started the business on the year I turned 50. I quit and I had no other alternatives. I had to make it work. And I think that if I had an alternative, I would have made up excuses because it was hard. So if you just go for it, you don't have to have the background. You just have to keep trying. You have to be consistent. You can't give up. If you don't give up, you'll make it. There's a quote somewhere out there that 90% of the people don't make it because they give up. And I'm, like the magic is on the other side of the pain. So you just keep doing it and go for it. And I just didn't know any better, and I didn't have any bridges or anybody to turn to, or I didn't have another income coming in, so I had to do something. But I would have given up. It was hard. I had many sleepless nights and many days of crying, and I was like, I'd wipe my tears and keep going.
I love that. And it's rings true for all of us. And
Yes.
as long as you don't give up, like you said, you'll make it because you keep on going and keep pushing through. So
Yes.
that's so powerful.
Yeah. So just go for it. That's my thing.
I love it. Thank you, Natalia. I appreciate it. And I'm thrilled to have you on today. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Julie. It was such a pleasure, and I appreciate it as well. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And where can people find you online, by the way? Where can they come support you and work with you?
So Zacharin Consulting, if you look that up, I do have a website. There's a calendar link there and a phone number. I'm also found on LinkedIn under Natalia Zacharin or Zacharin Consulting. I have a Facebook presence under Zacharin Consulting. My Instagram handle is Grow Your Bottom Line. And I am also on, I think that's it. And then my email and everything is on my website. So website, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I'm all there.
Perfect. And we'll have all the links below so people can come check it out. And thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. Yeah. And if you found value in this episode, please do share it. That's how people find us. And you can find me at sevenfigurebuilder.com. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.